So I spent the last 2 years studying war leaders like Alexander the Great and Genghis Khan through these books right here. Not because I have a fetish for them, but because I believe that by studying those principles, I've been able to not only get the highest marks in my entire school for the last 2 years, but I've also been able to do it without selling my soul or hundreds of hours to tuition kind of people, or like tutoring or studying like hours and hours like the depressed Asian, right? And so what I'm going to do in this video is not just BS you with some random like gay habits. Like I saw this one video recently where it's like this guy saying, "Oh, use a kitchen timer when you study to get better marks." I'm like, "Okay, that's not the kind of advice that I'm going to give you, right?" I'm going to share with you the four strategies, the four big ones that I have personally used to get the highest marks in my school for the last 2 years. And they all come from studying these people and their strategies. Because think about it. What if you study how to conquer the world, you'll at least be able to get the highest marks in your class. And more importantly, these guys were way more efficient than most other BS influencers out there. So by studying them, I've been able to also become way more efficient and get better marks in less time. So let's get right into it. Real quick, I just want to define, all right, when I say I used war strategies to get better marks, what I really mean is that you can really think about school and getting higher marks almost like a war, where the enemies, in this case, are literally just the different subjects you have. So you have math, science, English, whatever, the other important ones like physics, chemistry later on. But what most people seem to have is they get spread thin by all of these subjects, or they get bitched by every single one. They get terrible marks and they feel stressed. They feel like they don't have enough time in the day. And I'm trying to fix that with the strategies that I'm going to give you here. Now, the goal that we're going to try and have is not just get the highest marks for the sake of highest marks, but to do it with the least amount of time possible with the most important subjects. And again, this video will help you regardless of not, you're either getting really good marks, if you're not, or you just want to do it in less time. Now, let's get right into it. I don't want to waste any more time. So we need to go over something that's really important, and it's almost like the grand strategy that we have whenever attacking any subject of any kind. It doesn't matter. This applies to any single one. Now, the point one that I have, and I learned this mostly from Genghis Khan, and this is like step zero, right? If you don't have this, nothing else is going to work. You need to have the balls, the huge balls sagging to the ground to actually set the goal to get high marks. And it sounds like relatively simple, like, yeah, I clicked on this video because I have high marks. But most people I talk to, like I had a friend that I was talking to earlier who said, "Oh man, I'm trying to get mid 80s this year." This guy right here, Genghis Khan, he was able to, not even kidding, he conquered all of the rival tribes in the entire mountainside in like China where he lived. Not even kidding, in Mongolia, in just a couple of years after he was 17 years old. This guy wasn't that much older than us, and he literally conquered half of like his surrounding land. You at least have the capability to get high 90s, bro. And imagine if this guy right here, imagine if he just set the goal, "Oh my god, I just want to conquer one other tribe. Yep, I want to have exactly 1 square kilometer of land." He would have done it, and then he would have just been bored, and he would have probably just gotten railed by another big leader around there, right? So my point is, you have no business selling yourself short. And more importantly, dude, the difference between getting like a mid 80s mark, like 85, and getting a 95, it's like the difference between 5 and 6 inches, bro. It's not that big of a deal. It just takes a little bit more effort and a little bit more attention to detail with those other strategies to achieve that. But I put this part of the video first because if you don't set a high enough goal, what are you even working towards? You might as well just set the goal for a 98, because even if you get a 93, that's better than if you set the goal for an 85 and hit that. Now, once you have a nice pair of balls down there and you set the large enough possible, that sounds like kind of weird to say, but again, dude, trust me, most people don't actually have that one thing. But now that you have the high enough set goal, now we need to look at something more important, which is the grand strategy. Everything that we're trying to achieve is to, again, achieve the highest possible marks in the least amount of time. When I say this guy right here, Genghis Khan, he conquered the entire known world. He would never extend or drag out the length of a campaign or a battle to the point where it was just killing more people than it needed to be. And in this context, what we're really trying to do is we're trying to minimize the death of your time. Because honestly, school isn't worth your time outside of school, bro. Think about it. One of the big things that I've been trying to do, and this is just another strategy, this isn't really something I wanted to go over, but I just had this idea where I try to get most, if not all, of the work for school done during school hours. Because I don't want to be like the depressed Kumon kid that literally just sits there like this depressed Asian doing hours and hours of BS outside of school to get these high marks. But then you eventually just sell your soul to the school and you don't enjoy your actual high school years. So that's just another important thing to remember. Don't try and just get high marks. Do it in as minimal time as possible. And I'm going to show you how to do this. So we've gone over the grand strategy, which is effectively set the goal and then minimize death. Now let's go over the actual battlefield. So how do we actually get the highest marks with the least effort? And I'm going to go how I was able to do this. Now, remember again, the enemy is the different subjects you have. You got math, chemistry, physics, English, biology. You may have like computer science, whatever. It doesn't matter. What you need to understand that there's certain subjects that are far more important than the other ones. And so the number one thing I want you to just quickly understand is if you could have 3 or 4 subjects and you got 100 in those, then it wouldn't really matter what you got in those other subjects, right? So you really need to just, again, as we're going into this video, quickly just identify what are those subjects that you're trying to get the highest marks in. For me right now, it's literally just math, science, and English. Whereas maybe a couple years later, it'll be like calculus, physics, functions, chemistry, and like, you get what I mean, right? There are certain subjects that are important, and then there are ones that are just kind of filler, that are useless. And so don't put that much attachment to those because, again, why would you invest more of your time into things that aren't going to provide a meaningful return? Now, if you're going to get beat at home because you get a bad mark, whoa, what a stutter. That's not what I'm trying to say. Don't just get fails in those classes. Just put less effort into those and put more into the other ones that have higher yield, higher impact. Now, let's go over the most important strategy that nobody else talks about. Imagine like you're Alexander the Great and you're trying to conquer Persia, the largest empire, right? Imagine this guy right here. He just went over to the battlefield and literally as he was charging in, he was like, okay, this battalion, go there. Oh, go there. And he's like overwhelmed and he's scared of the big enemy, so doesn't want to send enemies there. And then he has these people that he doesn't really account for until the end. And so they're just sat there my point is, that never happens, right? Before you go into any battle, which is, for example, studying or which is doing work, you need to have, at the very least, a plan for where you're going to send your soldiers and how long you're going to send them there. And what I mean by that, your soldiers in this context are your time. Every single minute that you spend on a subject is like one soldier you're sending out to battle. Now, here's what most people do. Most people piss away their time because what they'll tell themselves is, oh, I need to study more. Oh, I really should study for that math test. Oh, I guess I should do that the thing. Yeah. I'll do it later. Oh, let me just go on TikTok and Goon, right? Here's my point. Most people have no set time for when they're actually going to do the studying. And I was guilty of this too. I was retarded for years. I just told myself, oh my God, I'm just going to try and study more. And guess what? It never worked. Because if you don't allocate a specific time for studying, let's say for 45 minutes, from 4 to 4:45, you're going to study the math thing. You're not going to do it. Because you're going to find other things to fill in that time. And then you're going to put it off until the end of the day. And then you're going to be like, dude, I don't have enough time. Oh. I don't know why I did that so gay. But my point is, right? You need to have a set amount of time that you're going to put in to a specific studying session or a specific habit in general. For example, I never used to work out until I just told myself, okay, from 6 o'clock to 7:30, that's my workout time. From Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then guess what? I actually did it because I would write it down on a notepad on my computer and then do it. You don't need some fancy software, some weird ass like Pomodoro technique. You just need to know when you're going to do the habit, how long you're going to do it, and preferably do it at the same time every single day. So right now, here's your action step. Pick one habit, right? Pick one specific habit. Let's make it, okay, studying. And I'm going to go way more in depth about this. All right. Two things. First of all, pick the time that you're going to do it. So from 4 o'clock to 4:30, I'm going to study for half an hour, and it's going to be math. Sweet. Now that you do that, you're going to actually see yourself do it because you wrote it down, and so now you have more likelihood that you're going to remember and do it. Most people, you don't actually, I never really lacked motivation. I just didn't have clarity for when I was going to do the task, and so I never did it. Now, that's the first very important battle tactic that you're going to have. But there's another important one too. Focus on one campaign, one enemy at a time. You see, back when Genghis Khan, I'm going to pull up his book right here just to show you. I actually read it, right? Like, I'm this far into it, like 2/3, because the other part is just like notes. But I'm still basically like, I know a lot about him. The thing is, he never just randomly decided, okay, I have 500 troops. Let's send 100 to 5 different battles. He said, okay, let's focus on one enemy and just drive them crazy. Plunder everything that they have. Literally just take over them. And now I have more resources to then put into other campaigns against other bigger enemies. Here's what I mean by this. Most people, they try and study like how your teachers have usually told you to study, which is, okay, spend a little bit of time reviewing every single different subject. And so they make a little bit of progress. They make basically mediocre progress in a bunch of different areas. And that's BS. It's retarded. It's not going to get you anywhere. Because what most people don't realize is, and I can affirm this, a lot of the people that I see that get really high marks, they don't just study really well. They get ahead in a subject, or maybe sometimes 2 subjects, usually 1, and they get really far ahead in that, so they just eliminate any need for studying for it during the school year. For example, back in like grade 7, I realized, wait, okay, I'm just going to get it right here. Back in grade 7, I realized, okay, why don't I just do these math workbooks? It's like the entire curriculum, and they're not like long or anything. They're like 150 pages. Oh, the pencil just fell out. It's like 150 pages, and they just go over like different concepts, right? And there's like a couple of problems on each like page. Think about it. Imagine your actual classes. You're kind of progressing at like a certain like pace because everybody needs to stay at like the rough same pace. If you get ahead by literally 10 pages, think about it. If you were just 10 pages, not 10 grades ahead, if you just took a math workbook like this, and imagine you guys are at like quadratics, and the week before you start quadratics, like, or anything, right? Any subject, if you just spent some time getting 10 pages ahead, right? And you just did 10 pages, you understood it. It was kind of stressful. It was kind of annoying. You use like random things on YouTube, like Khan Academy, to help you. Now, when you go into class, guess what? You're not going to sweat it at all because you already know how to do everything. And so when you get ahead, and honestly, most people that I see, and I'm not like trying to spit on my own cock or anything, right? I am currently 2 grade levels ahead in math. And it only took me like an hour a day, 3 or 4 times a week to get here, right? Over the course of 6 months or a year, you can get 1 or 2 grade levels ahead as well. Sweet. Now what's going to happen? Number 1, your mark in that class is going to get really good because you're ahead. But also, now that you're ahead in one class, suddenly you don't have to study for it. I haven't studied for a math test. Like, I'll review it and I'll do the work in class, but you don't need to study outside of school now for the test because you already did it a month ago or 3 months ago or a year ago. It doesn't matter. You've already learned it. Now pause real quick. You might think, Atharv, dude, I don't know how to, not you don't know how to study. I'm not consistent with studying. Or, Atharv, I genuinely don't know how to get into this habit. I got you, bro. The other tactic that goes along with this is you need to set the difficulty level where you're at. So Genghis Khan or Alexander the Great, right? I'll switch it up. This guy, right? He inherited a pretty big empire, but he didn't immediately go for like the huge empire or the huge one next to him. He went to the smaller tribes near that empire and he took over all of those. He basically like mismatched them. He like, I forgot the name for it. Like there's a certain gaming term, but like he basically just got them. He got his enemies to a lower difficulty than where he was at, and that meant he could beat them. And now he had more overall resources and he had more overall power. So what do I mean by this? Most people, what they do is they're like the level 1 guy in like a game fighting the level 100 boss. So like they try and study for an hour and a half every single day at 6 a.m. because of their New Year's resolution. Dude, that's retarded. It's not going to work. Trust me, I tried it and it didn't work for 4 years. Now, here's what I actually did. I used the same method that these guys, these war heroes, used. Attack the task that's at the same difficulty level. Attack the tribe that's roughly the same size as yours. So, for example, if your difficulty level or your skill level right now is that you literally haven't studied, you haven't sat down and studied for a year, don't try and study for an hour. Study for 5 minutes. And you might say, Atharv, wait, that's not going to do anything. 5 minutes isn't going to do anything. Well, if you study for 5 minutes every single day for 7 days, think about it. Every single time you do 5 minutes of studying, that's like 5 XP that you just gained. Now imagine, all right, you have that 5 XP, you've now leveled up after a week, and now you can go from 5 minutes to 10 minutes. But you can only get to 10 minutes once you've spent some time at 5 minutes before you level up. Then 10 becomes 20 after a week. Then 20 becomes 30. 30 becomes 45. And once you've hit around 1 hour, that's all you really need to do 3 or 4 times a week to actually get ahead a few grade levels. Now, once you've done that, I'm just going to go over a quick recap. Once you have the high enough goal set to feel motivated, you reduce the most amount of time possible by focusing on the very specific subjects that are important to you, and then focusing even more so you get ahead in one grade level or one subject. So for example, I got ahead just in math because I kind of enjoy it. Like I'm brown, I enjoy it. And also because I want to get into a field where either I'm going into machine learning or that's not even important. Mostly just because I enjoy math. It teaches me how to learn. It teaches me how to embrace something that's difficult. Now, once you've done all those things, you will become a straight A student. So here's your action step. Set your first, I like a random piece of paper. Write down, okay, I'm going to study this subject for 5 minutes from, I don't know, whatever you're free for 5 minutes. So 3 o'clock to 3:05 after school. What's going to happen is you're then going to create something called a habit tracker. I'm trying to find it. I have one right here somewhere. I think I threw it out. Basically, just search up habit tracker. Basically, just write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and those are like 7 days. Write next to each one of those numbers a box. Every single time you study for 5 minutes, tick off that box, and you're effectively gaining XP. You're completing the daily quest. Stick that piece of paper on your wall, and that'll basically remind you to do it. And now, after 7 days, double the difficulty. So now from 5 minutes, go to 10, 10 to 15, 15 to 30. You get my point. That is all you need to become a straight A student, dude. I don't know what to say. It's not really that complicated. That's all I needed. That's all I've learned on this journey, and that's all you will need. But if you want more one-to-one advice, on the description of this video, I have a full-on, literally just place you can just book a 30-minute value call with someone who you can relate to. Hopefully I can relate to you, right? But anyways, if you want advice from things like how to quit your addictions, like junk food, scrolling, gaming, going on the hub, you want to lose fat, you want to get straight A's, you want to improve your social skills, you want to feel that you deserve respect from other people. I've been on one end where I was that fat gamer. Now I'm here and I'm continuing to improve. If you want advice from someone you can relate to how to do these things, then as always, my name's Atharv. Click on that link. See you soon, bro.